Hello, this week on The Air Show you're invited to a birthday party. It was on this exact day 50 years ago that President Harry Truman signed the National Security Act of 1947 and the United States Air Force was born. And we're better to begin our celebrations than right here in the brand new American Air Museum. Situated near Cambridge at the Imperial War Museum, this architecturally acclaimed building was opened by Her Majesty the Queen on the 1st of August this year. And it uses 21 aircraft to guide you through the ways in which US air power played its significant role in 20th century history. Also tonight, Robert Elms takes to the sky in the classic Dakota. A co-pilot last week, now Fenella's one step nearer going it alone. And it's Mark's turn to take a back seat with the Thunderbirds.
"50 years ago today, give or take a few hours, the United States Air Force was formed. It's seen the Berlin Airlift, the Korean War, the Cold War, Vietnam and the Gulf War, and remains the most awesome testament to air power possible."
50 years on, the United States Air Force looks more awesome than ever. Until after the Second World War, American military aviation had been in the hands of the United States Army Air Force. But all that changed in September 1947, when President Harry Truman, aboard Sacred Cow, the forerunner to Air Force One, signed the act that gave birth to the United States Air Force. Within a month, USAF was already making history, as Chuck Yeager became the first man to break the sound barrier and live in a Bell XS-1, the aircraft he nicknamed Glamorous Glennis after his wife. Only 1 month old, and already the fledgling force was in the supersonic age. But their first big test came the following year, when the Soviet Union blockaded occupied Berlin. Everything from bread to over 1 million tons of coal had to be airlifted in. USAF moved 70% of the total tonnage.
Operations were that we had aircraft departing about every 90 seconds, flying our coal from Sully that was loaded on there onto the main base in Tempelhof. I was working as an engine mechanic on number 3 engine with 3 Luftwaffe mechanics, Eric, Fritz, and Hans that had to work with me and a few of the GIs, and we'd pull between 8 to 12-hour shifts.
By September 1949, the blockade was beaten at the cost of 28 American lives. But relations between the two superpowers were frosty, to say the least. The Cold War had started. 2 years later, tensions gave way to full-scale war in Korea, where the Sabre played a major role. Against Russian jets like the MiG-15, they were the first dogfights between jet aircraft. The 3-year war merely increased the tension. It was the start of the nuclear age, and strategic bombers like the B-52 were on constant alert. To counter the threat posed by the Soviet Union, the United States Air Force Strategic Air Command was formed. It was also responsible for a network of secret underground bunkers that housed Titan and Minuteman, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. This was the age of the 4-minute warning and the Cuban Missile Crisis. The end very nearly was nigh. Also in the 60s, across the world, in Vietnam, the B-52 became a symbol for a war the US probably wishes it had never started, as they tried to stem the flow of communism. In addition to high-level pinpoint bombing, aircraft like the F-4 Phantom provided close air support for the ground troops, delivering napalm and other extremely unpleasant chemical agents. While the B-52s also indulged in carpet bombing of the jungle regions. By the early 90s, the United States Air Force was in action again, when Iraq invaded Kuwait. Operation Desert Storm saw sophisticated aircraft and weaponry like the laser-guided bombs, which enabled the ground forces to liberate Kuwait with fewer casualties than the US suffered in a typical week in Vietnam. At the leading edge of that sophistication was the F-117A Nighthawk stealth fighter. What would air commanders of 50 years ago have given for an aircraft that could fly undetected by radar? Unfortunately, when you're operating incredibly advanced new machinery, things do go wrong, as we saw dramatically at an air show in Baltimore this week. Modern fighter aircraft are designed to be incredibly unstable, relying on computers to control them. Initial thoughts are that a software problem caused huge loading on a section of one wing that duly broke off. Thankfully, the pilot banged out and there were only relatively minor casualties on the ground. The Nighthawk fleet has been grounded pending further investigation.
For many people, this is the classic aircraft. It's the Douglas DC-3, the much-loved Dakota. And what a handsome beast it is. All over the African bush there are examples of this plane, which was designed 60 years ago and is still earning its keep. This pristine Dakota flies in the Kruger National Park from precisely the kind of rough and ready strips it was originally designed to cope with. And it still requires classic hands-on, low-tech flying skills with knobs on.
It's a very simple aeroplane with manual controls. It's got a very simple hydraulic system, very simple flight control system with reliable engines and a very good wing. It's not a terribly fast aeroplane, but it can go in and out of semi-prepared strips, and it's an excellent performer, short field performer, both for the takeoff and the landing.
The Douglas DC-3 first emerged in 1935 to meet the needs of TWA and American Airlines for a purpose-built passenger carrier. It had to have the power to take off at high altitude and the ability to stay airborne with one engine out, both qualities which came to the fore 7 years later when the USAAF suddenly needed a frontline transporter for a little war they'd joined down Europe way. The legend of the mighty Dakota was thereby born. 13,000 DC-3s emerged from the Douglas production line to be snapped up by civil airlines everywhere once they'd helped win the war. Hundreds survive today, including 2 still doing their stuff for the South African Airways historic flight.
The historic flight was born out of an idea in the late 70s amongst the flying crew and the technical section of South African Airways, and we started negotiations with the Air Force with a desire of maybe reacquiring some of our old DC-3s and DC-4s back from them. We actually identified a niche in the market. We invented the word of the flying safari.
Perfect both for stalking lions on game reserves, but also for taking tourists on the long haul to, say, Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, without ever needing to see the tarmacked runways of an international airport.
You can sample the ambience of the old style travel, but also fly at low altitude, at low speed, where you can actually do game watching from the air.
Absolutely fantastic to be able to fly it, purely because of its history. Its flight characteristics are also very docile, except it can bite back when you land. But other than that, we've got it nicely trimmed out, as you can see. when it flies by itself.
It has a great appeal with the pilots that fly it. I can only say that the sound of this old aircraft is music, the smell is perfume, and the movement is pure pleasure.
I wonder, will any of today's flying computers inspire such passions 60 years from now?
Have you ever had that feeling that you deserve a medal at the end of a long-haul flight? Well, in Turkey, they're giving out medals, not for surviving jet lag, but for taking part in some serious aerial sports at the very first World Air Games. Competing in a wide range of sports, 3,000 competitors from 61 nations have winged their way to sites all around Turkey. Great Britain's 8-way free-fall parachute representatives are amongst them. They're the British Army team, and we caught up with them at training at Netheravon in Wiltshire. The team will perform up to 14 formations in a minute, extremely difficult when you're plummeting from 10,000 feet up to a speed of 120 miles per hour. Then it shoots open at around 2,000 feet. Now, unlike most sports, the cameraman is an integral part of the team. It's his footage that the judges will use. So video evidence is, for once, not only welcomed, but essential. The British team, who are performing above Izmir in Turkey, are currently lying in 8th place after 3 rounds of their 10-round competition. The United States lead the way. In all, 10 sports are being contested, from aerobatics, paragliding to microlights. We'll have much more news from the Games on next week's Airshow.
The 50th anniversary of the United States Air Force was celebrated in Great Britain earlier this year at a Mildenhall air show to remember. The F-117A Nighthawk stealth fighter was one of the stars of a show that included just about every current type in USAF. But for all the mystique of the stealth fighter, the giant B-1, of which USAF has 100, sends shivers down the spine with its extraordinary combination of power and agility. In the thinner air of higher altitudes and with full reheat, it can travel at twice the speed of sound. The F-117 thankfully performed without mishap at Mildenhall, without revealing its full capabilities. While this was the first generation of stealthy aircraft, the latest is the B-2 Spirit, the $2 billion flying wing, whose wafer-thin profile and stealth coating makes it invisible to defence radars. Well, that's the theory anyway, although recent reports suggest it might have a problem with rain. It has a crew of 2 and carries up to 16 nuclear or conventional cruise missiles. Although it first flew in 1989, it was 6 years later before it was seen by an international public. Makes you wonder what else is lurking up there.
Well, I've now done just over 7 hours training and I can take off, trying to keep my wheels on the centre line, but usually failing abysmally. We've done climbing, power, attitude, trim, levelling off, attitude, power, trim. We've also covered turning and stalling, which is an experience I'd rather not repeat for real. I'm now ready to start bashing around the circuit, ready to do the solo. The only trouble is the British weather. Wind, rain, low cloud. It's at times like this when my thoughts tend to stray to other venues. America is a popular destination for people looking to gain their private pilot's license. Flying is not weather restricted and can take place all the year round. No landing fees or VAT, and fuel at a third of the cost means it's also a more affordable way to build up hours.
Having completed my private license in the UK, I decided it was taking me much too long with weather problems. So I ended up coming out to the States, where I rapidly advanced through all the American licenses, including the instructor's rating, then got a job. Coming over here definitely gives you a number of advantages. In the long run, it was cheaper for me to come over here and do my flying here. Secondly, there was the fact that job opportunities across here for sign building are so much more common because flying across here is so integrated into the community. It's a very everyday thing. Within a few square miles you've got a number of airports, busy international ones, down to small private strips. You find so many people who are just off the street, want to learn to fly, can go in, can afford it, and they take it up. It's more of a hobby across here.
Learning to fly in England will cost you in the region of £5,000. Doing an intensive PPL course in America can cost half that amount, but you'll have to validate your license in the UK to fulfill the CAA requirements. This involves an additional flying test. One of our denim instructors took that route.
I went out a few years ago when the exchange rate was particularly good and got a very good PPL, very cheap PPL out in the States. But I have done lots of flying since then in the UK. But I think if I'd told the careers advisors at school that I wanted to be an airline pilot when I was 16, I don't think they'd have taken me seriously. So for a while I believed that, but it is possible for any woman to do.
Now this woman's got a lot of ground school ahead of her.
The air law is the first exam that you must pass before we can send you off solo.
Yeah.
You've obviously got the medical. So an important aspect of that today is looking at the type of airspace that surrounds us at Denham.
6 written exams have to be passed to gain a private pilot's licence, ranging from meteorology to navigation.
Which brings us on to the next thing you have to get to grips with, and that's the phonetic alphabet.
I can't wait to learn this.
Have you any I'm going to do it like that.
No, I'd like to do it like that.
Have you seen it before or used it with work?
I haven't used it with work. Now, you tend to know a few words, don't you, from films and things, but I don't know all of them at all.
It'll be surprising how well you pick it up. They're all obvious words, like alpha for A, Bravo for B, November for N, and there's only a few X's, so X-ray is the natural one.
Yeah.
Okay, for X-ray.
Make no mistake, the bookwork is demanding, and I have to pass this exam before David Hoy will let me fly solo.
Okay. Right. Time for study is over. Okay. Air law. Right. Set number 93. 20 questions, and they're all multi-choice, so A, B, or C. Pass mark is 70%. There are no marks knocked off if you get one wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be back about 2 o'clock.
Thanks, David.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
On the ground, the Californian Highway Patrol has been keeping a watchful eye on the major routes around Los Angeles for decades. But 7 years ago, they trained an eagle eye in the sky on the scene as well when they formed their aviation unit. Now, as if the traffic down there wasn't enough to cope with, it's extremely busy up here too. In fact, this is the most heavily patrolled airspace in the United States.
The Highway Patrol itself has 9 helicopters and 15 planes, all jostling for airspace across the state of California, and all of them surveying some of the busiest road systems in the world.
This is what they call the Orange Crush, the area where traffic is traveling from all the Southland attractions, Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, Anaheim Stadium, the pond, all the beaches. It's a major terminus of a lot of freeways. So it's called the Orange Crush just because of Orange County and Crush, hence cars colliding into another.
I've got my spine, I've got my Orange Crush.
The Southern Los Angeles Division operates 2 Bell 206 Long Ranger helicopters and 1 Cessna fixed wing out of its Los Alamitos airbase. It may not be the most imposing looking aircraft in the world, but believe it or not, the Cessna has put an end to many a boy racer's bid for Grand Prix status. He issues 700 tickets a month.
We'll grab that blue van down there and I'll match the aircraft speed to the speed of the blue van, and we'll pace it through the marks that are on the highway. I'll call a ground unit and have them make an enforcement stop.
The patrol's Long Ranger helicopters see a bit more of the action. Vital in medical emergencies, they're credited with saving at least 10 lives per year. But it's the high-speed chases which are guaranteed to raise adrenaline levels a little bit higher.
You're trying to stay cool, you're trying to talk to all the air traffic control facilities, maintain a visual on the suspect, try to warn the ground officers of all the hazards that the pursuit's approaching. It's extremely busy following a high-speed chase.
As the flight officer in the helicopter, my eyes are fixed on the vehicle that we're chasing or pursuing. I don't have to be so focused in on what's around me. That's up for the pilot to take care of.
Glamorous, exciting, dangerous, all of this may be, but if budding pilots are tempted to send their CVs away in the next post, why not think again? In the Highway Patrol, you earn your wings only after you've walked the beat.
When you join the Highway Patrol, you join to be a law enforcement officer. You join because this is what you want to make of your career. After joining the Highway Patrol, if you have flight experience, you could be considered for our aviation program. And you'd have to have 2 years minimum time working the road. You would have to have a commercial certificate and an instrument rating in 500 hours.
When I came on the patrol in 1985, I came on as a private pilot airplane, and I had a keen interest in aviation. I worked the streets in Los Angeles for several years, at which time I went back to flight school to get all my helicopter certificates. My wife put me through school, and we spent her paycheck for about 5 years, and we think about $80,000.
So put away those dark glasses for now. In LA, if you want to be an eye in the sky, better keep your feet firmly on the ground.
After my first experience of fast jet flying last week, my pilot, Mark Hanna, prepares to take the back seat for the first time in an F-16 of the Thunderbird's aerobatic team.
I have to admit, been very excited.
Airborne here. Shift gears. It's at the end of the runway there. Departure Thunderbird 7's passing 1,000 for 150.
Yeah. Thunderbird 07 departure, loud and clear.
Thunderbird 7. And we're airborne.
Yeah, right. Who are we going to talk to now then? Huh?
You understand the HUD display there?
Bits of it. I've got the height, got the speed.
Okay. Heading on the bottom, the 1.0 on the top left is current G, or
yeah.
Actually that's, yeah, current G. The bottom 4.8 is max G pulled. I guess I did a weak takeoff. Radar information on the right side, on the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Obviously the horizon line and the flight path marker. Right. But it's about 450, takes her to about 90. That's the weird thing about this airplane too, is you feel like you're laying back a lot more. The 90 to, oops, I guess I'm over the top of our block here.
Oh, they won't notice. No, you're only slightly.
I'll get it back down there.
245's a magic figure around here.
Uh-oh, okay.
Oh, you're right. You got it.
Let's go for the 9 Gs, what do you say?
Okay.
You ready?
That's ready.
Okay, what is, yeah.
Yeah, see that, baby?
Wow.
I got 9.4 in front, but 8.8 on the HUD.
Okay. Actually, it doesn't seem so bad.
I'll tell you what, I won't hog it all.
Okay.
You got the airplane.
I got it. Reversing.
Okay.
That's the ratcheting.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly easy, isn't it, to stick?
Oh, yeah, you get used to it real quick.
Good, Randy. Thank you. That's great.
Good job. Good job.
Having been an F4 pilot and dogfighter with these things, and within about 5 seconds they're in behind you and gunning you, I'd very much like to fly some combat with one of these and give somebody else a hard time for a change.
And so here they are, on their only European display this year, the United States Thunderbird.
Our F-16s are great demonstration aircraft. If you look at the paint scheme alone on the airplane and the detail work on the paint scheme, you'll see how special that airplane looks. On the bottom of the aircraft, you'll find an airborne Thunderbird, which comes from our old West Indians. And a Thunderbird was a god of thunder and in the Indian lore, and it really looks beautiful on the bottom of the aircraft. That's why during our show, we'll actually fly by to show the bottom of the aircraft to the crowd. The Thunderbird's made up of 120 different folks, and they all have different skills. I've got folks that fix airplanes. I've got folks that do video. I've got folks that do graphics. We try and come in all different shapes and sizes, but I think you find that same passion for excellence in any Thunderbird.
My Thunderbird story is sort of unique in that I enlisted in the Air Force right out of high school. So I came in the Air Force when I was 17, and my original jet engine trainer, which was my first job, came to the team as an enlisted person, and he told me, you know, he called back and said, "This is great, you need to do this," and I thought, well, I want to do it as a pilot. So for 17 years, I'd worked to get here, and the Air Force paid for my education, and here I am. It's just been a long trip, but a fantastic journey. What looks to be perhaps scary is very well rehearsed and very well trained, and there's really no fear. It's just trying to make everything look just right. Most of my frightening experiences have been with birds going past the airplane rather close with a very frightened look on their face.
Next week, we'll let you know how Britain's hopefuls at the World Air Games in Turkey have fared. Fenella is back in the cockpit again on her quest to go solo. Robert Elms is still out in Africa somewhere. And David Gower gets all high-powered and mighty on us in his own business jet. Until then, bye-bye for now.